A U.S. tourist has been killed by one of Earth's most isolated tribes. A U.S. tourist has reportedly been killed by a community of hunter-gatherer people living on an isolated island in the Bay of Bengal between India and Myanmar. Did I say that correctly? Myanmar? I'm sure if I didn't say it correctly, one of my weirdos will point this out to me. John Allen Chow, age 27, was shot dead by people wielding bows and arrows after illegally traveling to North Sentinel Island last week, according to reports. Wow, this is illegally traveling to North... You're not even allowed to go there, so he kind of got what he deserved. I feel bad that he was killed. Obviously, it's a tragedy, but when you jump into the lion's cage... Although who had to... I mean, in his defense, I mean... Who would have known that they were so aggressive? I mean, they really don't want foreigners lounging on their beach. I see where they're coming from. The first time an American steps on your soil and is comfortable, you know, you cut to 10 years later and there's a Holiday Inn on the beach right there. You know what I mean? That's what happens, and they're trying to fight against that, I'd imagine, and that's pretty smart. You know, they don't want a McDonald's. They don't want any beachside. Oceanside hotels springing up on their lovely little island. I'm sure it's lovely. I gotta tell you, this John Allen Chow probably never in his wildest dreams expected to be killed by bows and arrows. I mean, that just doesn't happen anymore. That's a very archaic way to die. It's a very old school method of dying. You don't see it anymore. The occasional hunting accident, you know, a crossbow in the back of the skull, you know, when because your buddy drank too many PBRs while on the hunting trip. But for the most part, people don't die from bows and arrows. People don't die from pre-literate tribes in general. I gotta tell you, this sounds like a weird place, North Sentinel Island. I think I should research this for Weird AF News. I mean, we should learn more about these people. What are they? What sort of language do they have? What are the gods that they worship? What's the devil they worship? Obviously Americans, and with good reason. We're terrible. We are terrible. Look at if I hear a story of any American being, you know, stoned or tortured or boiled or killed or eaten when they travel to a faraway land, I'm not surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, we deserve it. We're terrible. We moved to your country, and then the next thing you know, it's like. You know, it's like fast food comes there, you know. It's like a juicery pop-up. It's like awful. Setting foot on this island is actually illegal in order to respect the Sentinelese way of life and protect them from diseases of the industrialized world. Ooh, very important. However, the man paid a fisherman to ferry him closer to the island in the middle of November, from where he traveled to the island in his own canoe. Oh, he was brought closer by a ferry, and then he got in his own canoe and went there. He was reportedly a missionary who made the perilous journey to preach Christianity to the Sentinelese people, according to the local website, Andaman Shika. That's a website. Oh boy, this is now even more deserving than before. I mean, he's going to preach Christianity. He's a missionary in 2018 to you know, topless people on an island. I mean, you got to be out of your mind. I'm kind of glad this happened. Hey, look, I'm all for freedom of religion. What I'm not for is freedom of pushing your religion on other people who don't want it. That's what I'm not a fan of. And I've seen it many times, just in the streets and in public transportations, in public buildings. It's so annoying. Oh man, I used to do a whole bit about the preacher on the subway in New York. I mean, it was just like, that was a funny joke. I should bring that back. A little offensive, I admit, but I thought it made a nice point. It definitely generated discussions. So yeah, I mean, the guy's going to an illegal island to preach Christianity to a group of natives who don't speak English, I assume. What do you expect? What do you expect? He was attacked by bow and arrows, but he continued walking and talking, said one source. The fishermen saw the tribals tying a rope around his neck and dragging his body. Wow! The Sentinelese stand guard on the beach of North Sentinel Island. There's a photo of this. Wow, you got to see this photo. You should look at this. This is crazy. By the way, what a beautiful looking island. 7 of the fishermen who helped him reach the island have been arrested by the police, as the islands are technically under the Indian Union territory. They've been arrested by Indian police. I guess they were trespassing as well. This tragedy should never have been allowed to happen, said a director. The Indian authorities should have been enforcing the protection of the Sentinelese and their island for the safety of both the tribe and the outsiders. Yeah, but what's the Indian government going to do? Put a fence around this island? Sometimes people are going to sneak in, okay? This guy could have snuck in via scuba diving or, you know, a helicopter or some other shit. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't blame it on the Indians. Instead, a few months ago, the authorities lifted one of the restrictions that had been protecting the tribe's island from foreign tourists, which sent exactly the wrong message and may have contributed to this horrible event. Well, it doesn't say what it was. What sort of restriction was lifted? It's still illegal to go there, so I mean, what more do you need here? The Sentinelese are considered some of the most isolated people from modern civilization. They have lived on North Sentinel, a forested island about the size of Manhattan, for about 55,000 years. What? It is believed the community consists of less than 100 people who live in 3 small bands. 3 small bands. The Sentinelese people have expressed a wish to remain uncontacted on multiple occasions, with the occasional violent clash. Man, I don't blame them, man. In 2006, 2 fishermen were killed by the Sentinelese people after their boat accidentally drifted too close to the island. Tribes like the Sentinelese face catastrophe unless their land is protected, said one expert. I hope this tragedy acts as a wake-up call to the Indian authorities to avert another disaster and properly protect the islands of both the Sentinelese and the other Andaman tribes from further invaders. Well, you know, this instance, a guy snuck on there. The previous instance was a boat crash. So, I mean, why are we blaming the Indian authorities on these incidents? These are accidents, obviously. And if someone is going to go undercover and try and get to that island, they're going to make it happen if they have the resources, whether the Indian government gets involved or not. Like I said, what, are you going to put a fence around the goddamn island? No. That's not practical. So you're just going to have to deal with the occasional curious individual, or in this case, a moron preacher who's going to go on the island, and they're going to get what they deserve. Beheaded, right? At the end of the day.